Welcome to Mindless Entertainment. I'm Jessie Milestone, and this is meant to offend, so if you're offended, good. Today, we're going to get into part 2 of the discussion we started on Monday about why extremism in any ideology is bad. So Monday, we talked about why the alt-right is terrible and stupid, and today, we of course are going to talk about the left and the SJWs and why they are also terrible and stupid. But first, important announcement, if you guys don't already follow the channel Geeks and Gamers, odds are if you like what I'm talking about, you'll like what Jeremy talks about on Geeks and Gamers. He also has a lot of stuff about, he does like, video gaming and all sorts of fun stuff like that. So, great channel, great Star Wars content. We agree on a lot of Star Warsy things, and he's like me where he's very direct and just says it the way it is. And even more excitingly, I am featured on one of their videos from yesterday. And as a result of that overwhelmingly wonderfully positive response, I will now be a regular contributor on Geeks and Gamers! So we are joining forces to bring our mutual hatred of The Last Jedi and our feelings about all things nerd culture to you on that platform as well as this one. So if you're not subscribed already to Geeks and Gamers, definitely head on over there, check out some of those videos, give them a subscription, and now you can see me in 2 places at once. You get extra Jessie. Hooray! 10 points if you can tell me who that hooray is stolen from. Okay, so, I hate the alt-right. I hate most people who are really, and that's what also bothers me about alt-right culture and where it came up for that. And granted, again, it's faded out of the mainstream a lot, but a lot of those ideas, and it happened when the Tea Party rose up a few years ago too, a lot of those ideas crept into the Republican mainstream and tainted a lot of what used to be, largely comprised of reasonable people, just like most of the parties used to be comprised of reasonable people, including the Democrats, who are now not, because they're comprised of people who are either pandering to this movement, too cowardly to stand up to this movement, or actively subscribe to this movement. The movement I'm talking about is the ultra-liberal SJW movement that's infected social politics in a disgusting, disease-like way. Whoever thought that advocating for diversity would be such a bad thing? And this is something I've been saying this since this started, and now I started experiencing, and that's it, in larger politics, this is what happened. The SJWs rose up in the later Obama years, feeling emboldened by diversity politics in those respects, and then you had the backlash of the people who felt under attack, and you fucking made those people, you dumb shits. What did you think was going to happen when you went around attacking white people for being white and telling them that they were wrong and bad for being white? I mean, you created that dialogue. There were not very many people in the mainstream walking around defending white culture because it wasn't under attack. And you don't have to attack white culture to promote diversity. This is not a zero-sum game. Nobody has to lose in order for you to win. When you ask for equality, you're not asking for somebody else. You're not asking to balance the playing field by saying, well, here's white guys and here's everybody else, so we gotta bring white guys down here as we climb up to get to... That's not how it works! There's white guys up here and everyone else down here, and the goal is just to bring everyone else up to here. That's it. You don't have to hurt those people at all, and yeah, okay, it may be uncomfortable. This is something, very important to touch on, right? It may be uncomfortable for those people because, and this is this is so many things I want to say. There's the SJW movement is first and foremost defined by an utter lack of compassion for anybody who doesn't think like them. Let that one sink in for a second, because what kind of people does that sound like to you? If you answered fascists, you are correct. If you answered white supremacists and ultra-conservatives, you are also correct. What's the difference between the ultra-left and the ultra-right? What is the difference? Besides the specific things they advocate for, nothing. They're equally as bad, and they're sitting here acting like, oh, we're so virtuous and correct, and because we're the morally right people. You can be as morally right as you want, but if your methods are evil, you are evil. I could advocate for the correct thing, okay? Let's say there is an injured tiger somewhere, an injured tiger, and I want to save the injured tiger's life. But I'm going to do that by murdering everybody standing in between me and the injured tiger. Yes, saving the injured tiger is correct. I'm now very, very wrong because I've committed mass murder. That's bad. Oh, we want to protect the rights of minorities and we want everybody to have an equal chance. And we're going to do that by trying to convince all white men that they're the devil. White men aren't going anywhere. I don't know if you know this. They're not going anywhere unless you kill them all off, and that is also mass murder. So you can't do that. You have to live with these people unless you want to segregate white men from everybody else, which is basically white nationalism. So that's fucked up. I mean, are you seeing, like, are we starting to tune into the hypocrisy here a little bit, right? This utter lack of compassion, and that's why you won't get anywhere. And that's why you have issues like you have in The Last Jedi where there are absolutely no positive male role models. This is just, let's just neglect the white guys. You're ultimately advocating for a world that involves white guys living with other people in harmony, right? So maybe don't make them the bad guy, because when you make them the bad guy, then you have to defeat the bad guy, and why not make them ally? It just doesn't make any sense. And again, compassion, okay? Compassion, because yes, maybe, and this is a great quote that I've heard, several great quotes. One of them is, if you are accustomed to privilege, then equality feels like oppression. Yes, that's correct. And that's not just to point to the people who are losing the privilege, saying like, oh, suck it up, this is what everyone else goes through. That's also to point to the people who are trying to take away that privilege and equal the playing field, which is that when somebody loses something, whether or not they deserved it in the first place, but somebody loses something, that's uncomfortable for them. And they're entitled to that experience. They're entitled to be unhappy about losing that privilege. I mean, they can acknowledge and accept that, yes, they should lose the privilege. Yes, there should be equality. Yes, everyone should have as many opportunities as they did, while still going, God, it really sucks that I'm not going to have all of these advantages anymore. I mean, you may look at somebody, let's say, take someone from in a lot of wealth who suddenly loses it all and is in poverty or struggling or living lifestyles that they're not accustomed to. You can be that asshole who's like, I don't feel bad for you. Now you just live like everyone else. Ha 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 ha. Or you can be that person that goes, well, look, I think it's a valuable experience for you to learn to live like everybody else, but I'm also compassionate for the fact that your entire worldview is now changing, that all of this has been taken away from you. You can be compassionate to people in these situations as well. I talk about this in my misgendering video. You can... This idea where, like, everybody who is diverse and part of a minority group are these saintly people, and everyone else who doesn't live perfectly by them is the freaking devil. I mean, why not? And that's the young versus the old thing, going after the older generation. Oh, you're so stupid, you're so backwards, you're so naive, you're so dumb because you don't understand all this stuff, and getting pissed off at teachers, in college. This happened all the time, where students in my college would get pissed off at the teachers because, like, oh, how come you keep misgendering the student? Like, I don't know, because that teacher is in their 40s, and when they were growing up, this wasn't a thing, and they never had to suddenly, flip in their head the gender of somebody that they only casually knew anyway in a professional context, and have known for several years as one gender. Sorry, they're not perfect at suddenly changing gender the next day. It's not like people who are transgender just pop out one day and go, you know what, I woke up this morning and realized I was transgender. Most of these people go through these long periods of transition where they have to go, deal with their personal identity crisis, and frequently, yes, it's sad, it sucks, they have to do that on their own, it's very hard for them, and they go through years, maybe many, many, many years of coming to grips with that identity, and they come out and they just want everyone to be like, all right, 100% on board. And we can be supportive and on board with that, but there's still a transitional period for everyone else in your life too. Christ, there was like a perhaps decades-long transitional period for you, and you want everyone who's close to you, who loves you, who knows you better than anyone else on the planet, to just have that transition immediately? How fucking unrealistic. Like, we're not super people, we're people. People are flawed. People exist in paradigms. People exist learning knowledge in a certain way, and it takes time to change that. That doesn't happen overnight, and to expect that is ridiculous. And that's another thing that pisses me off about the SJW movement, is that it's not about creating change, it's about demanding change, and that is not how change happens. Maybe you want to say, well, it's not fair, why should I have to do all this work to change when I'm the one being oppressed? Now, first of all, if you're on a college campus saying that, shut the fuck up, you're not oppressed, all right? You little bitches running around your liberal college campus. I went to a small liberal arts college, emphasis on small, emphasis on liberal, emphasis on arts, and I was under attack constantly by SJWs. And I'm not, definitely, especially at that time, like, not even, you couldn't basically be a conservative on my campus. That wasn't even possible. At that time, I very much still consider myself very liberal, very leftist. I don't like what those things mean anymore, so I don't want to call myself those things anymore. But at that time, I absolutely did, and I was still under attack constantly by those people, who were, and this is like I was saying, demanding, so people on those campuses, you rich people, I don't even care if you're part of a minority group, you wealthy fuckers sitting around in your classrooms debating these things, you are privileged, and you are not fucking oppressed, so shut the fuck up. Yes, maybe you've experienced sexism or racism in your life. We probably all have, but you are not fucking oppressed, so shut the fuck up about it. And stop demanding change, start doing something about it. Because all you do is sit around and whine and bitch and say, make change for me because it's not fair what you did, so you fix it. No, how about you educate people? Because that's another thing that pisses me off. Again, the lack of compassion. Oh, you don't understand trans people? You don't understand the struggle of being a black man, usually said by like a rich white girl. You don't understand the struggle of being a black man in America? Yeah, you don't either, bitch. Instead of saying like, oh, well, you should probably figure it out, how about take a fucking minute and have a conversation with that person and say, well, hey, have you considered these key points? Let me take this job as an advocate of change seriously and advocate for change rather than advocate for you're stupid, figure out how to make change so that I can feel more comfortable. Nah. Like, that's not how it works. I mean, Martin Luther King didn't sit there and go, hey, white people, give us stuff, give us rights. The women's suffrage movement wasn't about women sitting at home going, hey, give me the right to vote. They fucking went out and made it happen. You make it happen by making changes in your life, in your attitudes, in your behavior, and how you interact with other people, and how you elect to educate the populace about what you think is right and wrong. Not by sitting behind your computer going, everyone's so mean to me! Shut up! Fuck! So the lack of compassion drives me absolutely insane. Have some understanding for the people you're talking to. If you don't have empathy, you won't get anywhere. Also, if you don't have empathy, you're a psychopath. So stop trying to create social movements based on what's morally right, because you don't have a moral compass to begin with. And that's, so the diversity thing, again, you've made diversity into a bad word. I mean, who would have thought that was possible? 10 years ago, who would have thought that diversity could be something bad? I mean, come on, unless you were racist, in which case that was always something bad for you. Like, who would have thought that? But that's what's happened. That's what's happened. I'd also like to point out, again, more hypocrisy, right? So diversity, right? Diversity on the left, in the SJW movement has become tokenism. It is 100%, you can see this in Hollywood everywhere. It's become tokenism. It's become, look at this woman, look at this black person, look at this, gay person, look at them doing this thing. Are we talking about what it is they're doing? Are we talking about their qualifications to do it? Are we talking about their amazing successes as human beings through it? No, we're just pointing out, look at this person who happens to be black doing this thing. Look at this person who happens to be female doing this thing. That is tokenism. That's what The Last Jedi is, tokenism. Ooh, look, we put a black guy in that role, and you didn't develop him at all. Oh, look, we put a woman in that role, and she didn't work for anything she had. It's fucking tokenism, which is, by the way, racist! Tokenism is inherently racist. You know what else is racist? Discriminating against people on the basis of their race. And that's a thing, right? I am not one to say, and I think that there are many, many forms of advocating for diversity that are not racist. And I think there are some that are. For example, when you choose a lesser qualified person for a position because they're part of a minority group. Equal qualifications, take the minority, fine. Acknowledge that it's better to have diversity and diverse opinions in your workplace given equal qualifications. Equal qualifications. But if you have somebody who's more qualified and you take the person who's less qualified simply because of the color of their skin, you are now making this workplace or this whatever space lesser. You're lowering the quality, you're lowering the quota for what it takes to do this job or do this thing. You're lowering perhaps the overall skill, the overall intelligence or whatever, because you're showing preferential treatment for somebody on the basis of their minority status, on the basis of their skin color or their sexual orientation or their gender or whatever. And now if you want to be one of those people who's like, well, it's not racist or it's not sexist because those are institutionalized ideas and it can't be racist without institutionalization, fine. Fine. If that's your definition, I can't argue with your inherent definition. If that's how you want to define it, fine. I may not define it that way, but fine. It's not racist. It's still discrimination. And guess what? Discrimination is still wrong. It is wrong. No matter how you slice it, no matter what you want to look at it, if you're discriminating against somebody, if you're issuing discriminatory treatment on the basis of gender, race, skin color, etc., that is wrong. It's wrong. It should be merit-based. And that's when you talk about somebody in a position of power. Guess what? We're all humans with eyes. If a person that we're discussing and talking about and plastering all over the media is black, we're gonna notice. We're not fucking morons. I mean, most of America is, most of the world is, most of humanity is, but we're gonna notice this shit on our own. You don't have to tell me, thank you. Seriously, like, it's obvious. It's obvious. Someone wants to watch my videos and be like, look, somebody, it's a woman disagreeing with Star Wars. Yeah, no shit. I'm a person disagreeing with Star Wars. If you want to get excited that it's a woman, that's fine, but like, it doesn't, that goes in my personal struggle as a fencing referee. When I referee a bout, I don't want somebody to be like, look, a woman refereed that bout really well. I want someone to be, that's a good referee. That's a good referee. That's what I want them to think. That's what I want them to say, because until we stop harping and focusing on the differences between people, you're not going to have equality. I mean, that's the total hypocrisy. You want to sit there and say, oh, it's not about the differences. We shouldn't look at the differences between people based on those things because we're all the same and we're all blah, blah, blah. Stop pointing out the differences then. Stop it. Stop doing that. Stop pointing them out. And more hypocrisy, have cake, keep cake or eat it. You can't have both. Do you want people in minority positions? Do you want us on a pedestal? Do you want to be like, look, woman, look, that person? Or do you want us to be just like everyone else? Because you're not doing that right. You're not doing that. Sorry for the uncharacteristic jump cut that you probably wouldn't have paid any attention to if I hadn't just pointed it out. My car person called and wanted to know when I can service my car. Not right now. I'm across the country from where that is. Anyway, not the point. The point is, last thing I want to talk about here, because this video is getting really, really long, is the MeToo movement. The MeToo movement. There are good things about the MeToo movement. I like the idea of saying, hey, look, dude, this thing that you did, it wasn't right then. It still isn't right. There's still people suffering the long-term ramifications of undergoing that, and you should be held accountable for that. That's fine. That's fine. But when you want to hold somebody accountable for a crime they commit or a finable offense, whatever, do it under the law. Do it in the court system. Don't form a lynch mob. And that's what the Me Too movement is. The Me Too movement is a goddamn lynch mob. Because it doesn't ask for justice, it asks for vengeance. It asks for destruction. And that's not justice. That's not how this country works. That's not how we learn things. That's not how we grow. It drives me nuts because it's like Matt Damon said a very reasonable thing, an incredibly reasonable thing. What did Matt Damon say? Matt Damon came out, he got crucified for this. He got totally slammed for coming out and saying, yay, Me Too movement, go you guys, but I think we have to be careful because not all of these offenses are equal. And he was destroyed to the point where he had to issue an apology, probably if he ever wanted to, work again. Otherwise, he was just going to be another victim of the Me Too movement for saying something based on common sense. That's the most logical thing I've heard in the Me Too movement. And I fucking agree with it. I mean, if you rape somebody, that is not the same thing as if you drunkenly try to kiss somebody who says no. Are those both bad? Yes. Yeah, you're still accountable for your behavior when you're drunk, and if someone says, don't fucking kiss me, don't fucking kiss them. And if you try a second time with me, after I've already definitively, clearly told you no, I'm gonna break your nose. And that's, and you deserve that. At that point, not everyone is like me, and not everyone is going to break the nose of that person. They're just gonna feel really, really awkward and uncomfortable, and it'll probably linger for a while, and they may have lingering effects of every time they're around drunk guys feeling vaguely uncomfortable because they're worried about their consent being violated, and that's a problem. That's a thing. That's a problem, and we can address that. And that guy can maybe issue a blanket apology, or if the woman, whenever it happens, if the woman is still having lingering effects, can, maybe be held accountable for paying for therapy or some shit like that. That's fine. But does his career need to end? Does his public image need to be destroyed? Does his life need to be ruined for it? No. I'm just saying that. No, Matt Damon, I stand with you. You're right. Does Harvey Weinstein deserve to never work again? Absolutely. Does he deserve to go to fucking jail? Hell yes, he does. Seems like what Kevin Spacey did was pretty shitty too, so fuck that guy. But not everybody deserves, and that's the thing, some of the people coming out and saying, like, this happened to me, are not asking for those people to be destroyed, but it's a fucking lynch mob. So the second you name somebody, the angry farmers with pitchforks and torches go running in that direction and fucking murder that person. It's ridiculous. And to go after Matt Damon for, you can't even say reasonable things anymore without being under attack. It's crazy. The level of extremism is unhealthy, it's bad, and just like what happened on the right, it is tainting and polluting the regular discussion, the normal people, and by the way, this is hilarious to me, I totally called it, in my last video, I got accused of being a crazy SJW because I didn't agree with the alt-right. By somebody who is self-identified as alt-right. I'm sure that plenty of SJWs are going to look at this and tell me that I'm clearly sexist, racist, whatever, blah, 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 because because what I said made them uncomfortable, and that's it. People can't feel uncomfortable. Fucking feel uncomfortable. It's a way of feeling. Feeling uncomfortable is important. That's how you change. But no. The SJWs don't want to change. They don't want to create change. They don't have anything to do with change except sitting behind their goddamn keyboards demanding it from somebody else. I think that's probably quite enough on that subject. I am going at this YouTube stuff pretty full tilt as much as I can. I have so many ideas of content I want to bring to you moving forwards. I'm still working on, by the way, the Han Solo funeral. Maybe have some fun, exciting content coming up for that for you. If you not know about this, wear black on May 25th. We're mourning Han Solo. And visit my Patreon if you like what you see, or if you like me and you want me to actually be able to do this and produce even better content. Consider contributing as little as $1 a month. Every little bit helps, guys. But yeah, this is something I'm trying to do. Full stop. It's something I'm trying to do. So all of your support helps. Watching this helps. Sharing it with everybody you know helps. If I didn't offend you, sorry. I will try harder next time. If I did offend you, excellent. And if you know people who need to see this, by all means, post it in their face and make them cry, because that's what people do when their belief systems are challenged. Anyway, that's all. Next time you see me, I'll probably be in Richmond, Virginia. So we'll talk more about that when that happens. Bye.